Okay, I am going to clean a sunfish today. We call them bluegills locally. And I was just out on the lake today, fishing through a hole in the ice. Caught a few of these 8.5 inch bluegills. They may not look too big, but they're decent size, but they're actually a very excellent size to eat. I'm going to show you a couple things during the cleaning today. I'm going to clean several, so I'll take my time explaining stuff here. I'm going to show you a way that I've recently been cleaning fish because I've had an annoying issue with sunfish all my life practically, and that is this little layer of bones that is always left in the fillet right above the rib cage. All fish have this layer of, we call them pin bones. Some only have 4 or 5. Bluegills seem to have a lot more of them. They seem to run the whole length of their rib cage and even a little more. And I'm going to show you how to get rid of those pin bones 100%. We do lose a little meat over the rib cage. As you can see, I don't cut down too deeply into the rib cage because I'm cutting out that section of the belly meat anyway. And yes, it's a little bit wasteful. It's so thin you can read a newspaper through it in most cases. Probably doesn't add up to a whole lot of meat, even with a whole bucket of fish. But I'm going to show you with a little more detail on a couple of them here. Pointing out the rib pin bones right now, and I'm making a cut with the sharp point of the knife between the top of the fish and the pin bones, leaving the pin bones in that piece of meat that is over the rib cage that we're throwing away. But notice the tail section I leave very thick, and there's a nice thick piece of meat there that I hate to miss. So if you lay your knife down across behind the whole gill and cut with the flat part of the knife all the way across those scales, you will dull your knife in a hurry. And that's why I just poke the tip of the knife blade in first and cut along with the scales. Does not dull the knife nearly as fast. You will clean a bucket or two of bluegills before you would need to sharpen your knife using this method. And again, watch how that tail section remains in there as I turn the knife blade right here and leave the tail section in. Nice thick chunk of delicious meat right there. Sometimes you get a little of that belly meat stuck to the fillet and you just hold it down with your knife and pull it right off. You've already cut it with the tip of your knife, so it comes off very quickly. Well, I'm sorry for being such a carnivore here and leaving blood all over the screen. I will wipe that up and get ready for the next one so it looks a little more pleasing, a little more appetizing. There we go. Well, you may have seen enough already, but here's one more time. Poke the knife blade in right behind the gill cover and work with the scales up toward the head. Turn the knife blade as you're cutting to head back down the spine of the fish, staying above the rib cage with the point of the knife, but as close to that back fin as you can. When you get to the tail, shove the knife straight through all the way and out the end of the tail. Peel the fillet over the rib cage for a little ways. You don't have to go too far, but always remember that nice little fat chunk of tail section behind the rib cage, between the rib cage and the tail. Nice fat little section of meat. Try to get as much of that as you can. Put your knife point, sharp knife required here. Follow along that line of pin bones and fillet it off. And if you get any of that belly meat with it, it just peels right off. And there you go. Clean piece of meat. Your guests will love it. I grab the fish by the gill just to hold it so it doesn't slip. It's just to get that knife point in and get started. And again, watch me turn the knife at this point and then head back down toward the tail of the fish, staying on top of the rib cage. And then when I get to the end of the rib cage, shove right straight through all the way to the tail, and then open it up, peel over the rib cage, and cut it off. That saves a little time there. Cut along that between the ridge and the big part of the meat, and fillet the skin away, and a delicious morsel ready for the fry pan. Okay.